Hello YouTube, this is Peter with you once again, here with episode 2 of my series Pathologies of the Internet, in which someone with a philosophy degree does armchair diagnoses of random, anonymous internet people, totally scientific, completely accredited. Now, my previous episode was about intellectual depersonalization, in which basically people think that anyone who doesn't agree with them is a complete moron. This episode is about splitting, or more commonly known as black and white all or nothing thinking. And if you have a background in psychology, you might be thinking, gee, isn't that something typically associated with personality disorders like borderline personality? Why would you attempt to apply it to large groups of people on the internet, and so on and so forth? And first of all, how dare you question my scientific and psychological credentials, which I totally don't have. My point is not to say that these people are suffering from a personality disorder like borderline, so let's get that out of the way first. However, the more that I've been reflecting on the way people behave on the internet and trying to summarize and highlight certain aspects of it, this idea of black and white thinking, which again is typically associated with a personality disorder, seems to be amongst the main features. So if people engaging in black and white thinking on the internet are likely also not suffering from a personality disorder, then what explains the prevalence of this thinking? And I think the answer to that is fairly straightforward. It's because black and white thinking is typically what you see when you have confrontation and controversy. And those two things are what is fueling the clickbait culture of the internet. So saying that Star Wars The Last Jedi was irredeemable garbage, or that Anita Sarkeesian is a terrible person who is just out to scam everyone, and you can't trust a word she says, or to flip it around completely and to say that someone who expresses an opinion you don't agree with is a total racist, sexist shitlord. That sort of black and white thinking, where it's either all good or all bad, sells on the internet. It's really just that simple. And I think that movies in particular, movie reviews, when you have something like The Last Jedi, in which there's a large fan base of people and a certain segment of the audience is disappointed, you can pander to some of that audience by complaining about how absolutely every aspect of the movie was terrible and it was just irredeemably bad, and Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are tanking the whole franchise. And really, it's part of a broader culture of movie reviews, in which movie reviews nowadays tend towards highlighting the negative. Everything sucks, everything's the worst movie ever. And in truth, in the past, I've been guilty with this. I made several videos about Transformers, which were highly popular. And I mean, I still think those movies are garbage, but I'm not going to belabor the point here. So it's basically more valuable in terms of reactions, clicks, generating controversy, and garnering attention on the internet to present something in such a way in which it's not just, I was disappointed with this aspect, didn't like that, here's the good, here's the bad. It's just bad. So it's not even entirely black and white thinking, split thinking that people are engaging, because not only do they think things are all good or all bad, but it also weights everything towards everything being all bad. I made a series of videos about Anita Sarkeesian, and 2 series to be specific. One was about things that I disagreed with her about. Much of it was just complete geek tangents about the minutia of certain comic books or television shows. And the other series was about all of the people who were criticizing her recycling the same handful of arguments. And I hope it came across as I was making the videos criticizing Anita Sarkeesian that I maintained a certain basic level of respect for her and do not believe all of the crap about how everything was a scam to make all this money and all the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories that probably countless people will still believe and will find their way to this video to tell me how wrong I am about that, and she truly is the Antichrist here to destroy all of entertainment and so on and so forth. Because I did not engage in that sort of split thinking, nor did I assume that because I disagree with her that she must be a moron. So I guess I'm here patting myself on the back for not falling into either of these pitfalls. I can both not agree with someone and still respect them and still accept that they still have valid ideas. You see in the news right now that Fox News has, and the entire right-wing media is taking AOC and making her into the new Democratic Antichrist because they don't have Obama to kick around anymore. So now they need a new target to tell everyone about how socialism is going to lead to concentration camps and Stalinist purges and oh my God, how many people did Mao kill and so on and so forth. They need some new boogie woman to terrify their audience with of the specter of socialism. And they found that. And on one hand, I don't necessarily agree with everything she says or with all of the points of the Green New Deal, but I respect her and I admire the fact that she worked so hard to get where she was. And I also agree with some of what she has to say. And you see, that's what a healthy person does, where they say, okay, I don't agree with you, but unless you're, a truly terrible, like, monster, serial killer, committing war crimes, doing something truly terrible, hey, maybe it's just a difference of opinion and I don't have to demonize you because I don't agree with you. But that doesn't raise the stakes of the conflict enough for cable news or for internet clickbait. So everything has to be the worst thing ever that has to be stopped, and I can't believe how Kathleen Kennedy is ruining Star Wars and Anita Sarkeesian scamming all these people. And I should stress here that this is not just right-wing people, anti-social justice, anti-feminist people that do this, because feminists and social justice advocates often engage in this kind of thinking as well. Hashtag canceled. You don't like the way that a cis-hetero white author writes their female characters? Well, then they're a misogynist shitlord who should have their books burned. Having an opinion that's considered not politically correct, not in line with a certain way of thinking, well, that person is irredeemably bad and should be shunned and completely ostracized from society. Now, obviously, not all social justice advocates and feminists behave that way, but the reality is some of them do. And although I, on one hand, despise the term social justice warrior because it's basically used to describe anyone who puts forward a social justice viewpoint, there's another part of me that thinks that there are people worthy of that term in a pejorative sense. That there are people worth being ridiculed as social justice warriors, by and large because they engage in this kind of split thinking, where anyone who does not 100% agree and align with their worldview is terrible. And I just don't believe that about most people. The truly terrible, truly irredeemable people are, by and large, few and far between. In the last few years, there's been so much discussion about how polarized society is, and I think that this black and white thinking that pervades so much of our discourse nowadays is a major component of that, because you look, for example, at AOC and how the right wing reacts, and it is this absolute hyperbole and straw men and false equivocations in order to paint her as totally bad, as liberals as totally bad, and all these other things like people living in their own information bubbles, those are true, reductionist thinking, straw manning your opponents. All of that is true, but the cumulative effect leads to this kind of black and white thinking where, well, those are just bad people if they disagree. And I think some more nuanced and less black and white thinking is desperately needed. So that's the end of my rant for right now. I'll probably at some point periodically do more of these pathology of the internet videos, because I know you're all dying for my totally scientific, completely accredited opinion on the matter. Until next time, have a good whatever time it is.